Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the one-on-one series, 8 Ways to Instantly Improve Your Website. If you're looking to enhance your website's visual appearance and overall user's experience, then this is a great place to be. All right, let's get started. So a quick run through of today's agenda. I'll start by breaking down the components of web design, and then I'll jump into 8 ways to instantly improve your website. I ask that you keep all questions until the end of the webinar for the Q&A session. I'm Ashley Patzer, the web and digital designer at Keystone Click. I have my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in graphic design, and I have B2B and B2C experience working with businesses in a wide range of industries. This includes manufacturing, education, power sports. I also did work in home medical and outdoor power equipment. I'm excited to share actionable tips and tricks with you today based on my experience working in digital marketing and web design. So let's get started with a general overview. So what is web design? Web design is so much more than just layout. Web design includes everything from the way your website looks to the way it works. So this includes colors, typography, graphics, photography, and interactive features. So it's important that your company strikes the right balance in all of these areas in order to satisfy your customers. In our digital age, it's rare for someone to make a purchase or engage in your services without visiting your website first. So your website's a direct representation of your brand. Simply put, having great web design helps your business appear credible online. So let's review some aspects of web design before I get too deep into the tips I want to share with you today. A word I'll be using quite a bit is layout. So layout is the way graphics, ads, and text are arranged on the page. I'll be touching on why simplicity is key in this area. While color might seem like an obvious one, it's important and it can make or break your website. So today I'll be talking about leveraging your color scheme for your brand's target audience. So just like color, fonts can also make or break your appearance on the web. Readability is key when choosing fonts for your website. Another web design term I'd like to touch on is content. It's often confused with copy. So content is a combination of visuals and written text. Our social media account manager, Brooke, actually wrote a really great blog on our website in regards to this topic if you're interested in learning more. So another feature I'd like to touch on is navigation menus. Your navigation menu is one of the most important features on your site. So it serves as a roadmap for your visitors to get from point A to point B. So moving down to multimedia. Multimedia is video and audio content. This is a growing medium that's being integrated into websites right now. At Keystone Click, we highly recommend incorporating video into your site to deliver a more personalized experience for people who aren't interested in reading long passages of text. Last term I'd like to talk about here is interactive. Interactive elements like email forms and newsletter signups are important for your brand. These give you the opportunity to interact with site visitors and potentially convert them into customers. So just make sure your forms are easy to find and easy to use. With that quick intro into web design, let's dive into 8 actionable tips that will help your business achieve web design greatness. One of the most important aspects of website design is leveraging your site's fold. The above the fold concept actually goes back centuries to the beginning of the printing press. Since newspapers were folded because of their size, only the top half of folded newspapers were visible to passerbys. The newspaper industry quickly learned that in order to gain an audience, they had to present attention-grabbing headlines, content, and imagery on the top half of the page. Today in our digital world, we refer to the fold as the bottom of a browser window. So you should leverage this space with attention-grabbing headlines, content, and imagery, since it's the first place users see. A recent Google study showed that ads appearing above the fold had a 73% visibility rate, whereas those below it had just 44%. So think to yourself, what action do I want people to perform on my website? For example, if you want people to know about your great sales, highlight this. A short, impactful headline and a bright colored button saying Save Now could be an excellent way to do this. This being said, it's important to not overdo it. While this may be an extreme example, Ling's Cars is what can happen when you oversaturate the area above the fold. And yes, lingscars.com is a real website. If you have a few minutes to check it out, I recommend you do so for the entertainment factor. I do want to acknowledge that this website is famous for this layout and the overall look, but while it may work for Ling's Cars, it's highly unlikely it will work for your business. But for educational purposes, I just want to talk about what you shouldn't incorporate into your company's website. Simply put, I'm not sure where to look. Between the multiple fonts, the colors, patterns, and images, I'm very overwhelmed. There isn't really anything on the top portion of this website that makes me want to click anything. While testimonials build trust and should definitely be incorporated into your website, I'm just not sure where to go next. To solve this issue, I would move the testimonials lower on the homepage and feature quick verbiage that guides you to the car product pages, such as Shop Now. I hope you enjoyed looking at Ling's Cars as much as I did. Another aspect of your website that is above the fold is your navigation menu. So when crafting your website, it's really easy to get caught up in areas other than the menu. An underdeveloped menu creates user confusion and frustration. Navigation menus are traditionally found at the top of the browser, and they link to various areas within your website. If designed correctly, users will be able to get from point A to point B without frustration. To maximize your site's user experience, you should cut out the non-essentials and limit your navigation items to 7 or less. This is a perfect example of a less is more scenario. Too many items will overwhelm your site's visitors and distract them from high-impact landing pages. Once you've determined what your menu items are, arrange them accordingly. So menu items placed in the front or the top of the menu are going to be more likely to be seen. So a common question with navigation menus is if drop-down menus are best practice or not. In the design world, drop-down menus are quickly becoming a thing of the past. Most web designers argue that using drop-down menus is bad practice due to the fact that they're an additional decision a user must make. If you were able to engage a user for one click, would you want to risk that for one more? So mitigate the risk altogether by leaving out your drop-down menus. If you're worried your subcategories will be lost without drop-down menus, you can always combat this by linking to those subcategories within your main pages. Even though the primary reason for having a website navigation menu is to improve your site's user experience, it's still really important to make sure it's visually appealing. Choose colors that are easy on the eyes and contrast well. If there is any hesitation that something could get lost, then you'll want to reevaluate your site's color scheme. Before I jump into talking about color scheme, just remember to limit your navigation items, describe them appropriately, and choose the best structure for your site's needs. Simply put, the wrong color scheme can send the wrong message. It's critical you choose colors that not only complement your company's unique branding, but also resonate with your target audience. If you own an auto repair shop, pastels are probably not the best way to go. In addition to resonating with your audience, you want to make sure you have a dynamic color scheme with at least 1 to 2 accent colors. Accent colors work particularly well for buttons and call to actions. On this slide, I've identified one color scheme that would be successful and one that would not be. The one that is not successful is too subtle. It doesn't have a distinct pop of color that could be used for buttons and other areas of interest. The one that is successful, on the other hand, has 2 bright accent colors that stand out against the dark gray fields of color. One of the most important aspects of your website's appearance and usability is typography, or which fonts you utilize across your site. Typography directly impacts a user's experience on the web. Poor readability will frustrate your site's visitors and leave them looking elsewhere. Start by assessing the text you currently have on your website. Is it easy to read? Do you have to lean into your screen? Or can you comfortably see it from a few feet away? Readability is crucial. When selecting 1 or 2 fonts for your website, steer away from decorative and script fonts. These are distracting and hard for users to read, especially if they're body copy. Stick with sans serif and serif fonts for body copy and button text. To find the best match for a brand, I pay attention to their upper and lowercase letters, as well as their glyphs and ligatures, also known as special characters. This method allows you to dive further into each font's unique characteristics. Once you've narrowed down your selection, experiment with sample text. If you're selecting a font that will be used exclusively for headlines, preview a few words at multiple sizes. Your headline should stand out from the body text. In the end, you'll want to choose fonts that both accurately represent your brand and are comfortable on your visitors' eyes. Some of my go-to resources for selecting the right fonts are going to be Google Fonts and Adobe Typekit. They make it simple to search fonts by style, weight, and width. Google Fonts is free to use, while Adobe Typekit is going to be a free feature if you have a monthly Adobe membership. So let's talk about keeping it simple. Michael said it best, less is more. Website layout is all about striking a balance. Your end goal shouldn't be to decorate the page. Your end goal should be to elegantly frame your content. Have you ever seen a flyer on a bulletin board littered with too much clip art? That's decorating, what you want to stay clear of when designing your website. The example on the right is a good example of clutter. The inconsistent grid structure makes it really hard to focus on where to click or where to go next. To achieve results like the example on the left, I recommend sketching out your layout before you begin any digital work. Your end goal is to have a simple layout with text fields that are easy to read, with bright and bold call to actions to lead visitors to your products and services. Before you incorporate an element into your site's layout, ask yourself if it has purpose. According to Statista, in 2018, 52.2% of all website traffic was generated through mobile phones, up from 50.3% in 2017. This high percentage is why you need to make sure your website is responsive, aka mobile friendly. The best way to check to see if your website is mobile friendly is to look at it firsthand on your personal mobile device. Is your layout off kilter? Is it nearly impossible to read anything on your homepage? These are key indicators that your website isn't properly optimized. Some immediate steps you can take to make sure that your site's mobile friendly is to manually adjust your layout in the mobile builder. This includes text size, grid structures, and image sizes. If you're unable to manually make the changes, consider contacting a web design professional to learn about your options. How long does it take for your website to load? Slow load times are one of the biggest reasons why users become frustrated and lose interest in your website. One way to make sure your load times are at a healthy range is to properly optimize your images. An image that's too large in size and at the wrong file format can weigh your website down. The most common file types for use on the web are going to be PNGs, JPEGs, and GIFs. The question is one file type faster than another? Answer to that question is yes. JPEGs are going to be the fastest loading files. They're pretty versatile and are traditionally small files while having very little noticeable quality loss. It's best to save your large color photographs as JPEGs because they don't need to have any level of transparency. Things like icons and logos are best as PNGs so that they don't have that white background. Seeing a logo with a white background is a huge indicator to me that you did not have a professional web designer create your site. Another factor in page load time is page length. If your pages require a lot of scrolling, I recommend condensing your content and breaking it into smaller subpages. While some white space is certainly necessary in order to have a clean, modern layout, you can cut down on your white space or padding. This should in turn be less for the server to load. All in all, faster load times will help visitors remain interested in your content. The number one thing that drives me away from a website is when I see fuzzy, low-resolution images. While it's important to make sure your images aren't too large in file size, you also want to make sure that they're crisp. A crisp, high-res image will help you establish credibility on the web, like the image on the left. While the image on the right is of a similar subject matter, its quality is not high enough at that size. When selecting images for your website, you'll want to be conscious of the size of the image field that you have to work with. If you're filling a space like the header image above, you'll need a photo that's at least the width of the screen, or 1,920 pixels. For smaller images across your website, you'll want to make sure they're at least that width or greater before you crop them. A question I'm frequently asked is, where do you recommend I look for high quality images for my website? First and foremost, before stock photography, I recommend contacting a professional photographer to take real-life images of your products, services, and staff. These images appear more genuine than stock photography that's used by other businesses, including your competitors. But if you're unable to afford or coordinate professional photography, there are some great free and paid resources that I've experienced working with. Some free resources that I'll utilize from time to time are Pexels and Unsplash. While they have limited options compared to paid stock resources, you can generally find what you're looking for here. Actually, the image in the previous slide is a free stock photo that I downloaded from Pexels. If you're looking for a specific subject matter, though, I highly recommend purchasing stock imagery from websites such as Shutterstock and Getty Images. Both sites feature flexible pricing plans to choose from, so if you're looking to update your imagery on a weekly or monthly basis, an annual plan might be right for you. In addition to imagery, you'll find vector graphics, video footage, and music for purchase. Simply put, whether you choose to hire a photographer, purchase stock imagery, or download free images, how you present yourself on the web is how you're presenting yourself to the world. Your website is a sales and marketing tool that you should make full use of. So to make full use of it, sign up for a free website marketing audit at keystoneclick.com/audit, and someone from our team will be in contact with you to make sure that you truly are making full use of your website. So that being said, this wraps up our second webinar in our new series. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something new and have some actionable takeaways that you can apply to your own website. If you have any questions about the information I presented today, or have a question about web design I didn't cover, now is the time to do so.